Well, Senator Ndume now joins us from our Abuja studio. He is the Senate Chairman, Committee Chair on the Army. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us tonight on the program. Perhaps we should begin the conversation around some of the issues that are on the table. Perhaps let me get your view first and foremost on the comments on the reactions of the president on the issue of the bandits and banditry in the country. Take a listen to, or let me show you what the president said. He said, at the same time, we're confronting the various dimensions of security challenges that continue to slow down the emancipation of our people from poverty and economic deprivation. The government shall continue to deal with insurgents, bandits, kidnappers, and other criminals who constitute a threat to innocent citizens across the country. Criminals are criminals and should be dealt with accordingly without resorting to ethnic profiling. Those are some of the words from the presidency. Senator, let me get your reaction to what has become a major challenge, and people were thinking that maybe we are finding it difficult to resolve these issues.
First of all, let me say I completely agree with the stand of Mr. President on the various forms of criminality that is going on around the country. No government will accept criminals taking over or even placing themselves as government within government. So I agree with what Mr. President said. And I also encourage the president to place this as his major priority, or even go to the extent of declaring a state of emergency in the security sector to deal with the security, because without peace, you can't make any progress. Nothing will make sense if the country is not secured. And as I kept saying every time, that security and welfare of its citizens is the main purpose of any government. And I think the president is committed since the beginning of the year with the steps that he has taken so far. I'm sure if it continues like this and the government is giving the necessary support, we'll soon get over these criminalities and other form of security threats here and there.
You're one of those who advocated for an overhaul of the security architecture, but are you satisfied? Are you impressed with what the president has done so far?
So far, it's good. What the president has done is what Nigerians wanted for a very long time. It came, and the president sent a message. I remember vividly during the first, his New Year message. He said the security apparatus will be rejigged and that all efforts will be geared towards solving the security problem in the country. And we see it. The new service chiefs have started working. And from Borno angle, where the epicenter of Boko Haram is, there are results. But as I kept on saying, they can't achieve much without the necessary equipment, modern equipment, the intelligence, and the number. Fortunately, the intelligence cycle or the synergy that is required, particularly between the armed forces and security, has improved tremendously. And Mr. President, to interest on the issue of security has also been, has increased recently. Every time anything happens, Mr. President tries to respond, unlike before. So I think Mr. President should be commended and also urged to do more, especially in terms of funding the security agencies and increasing the number of security personnel, their training, and giving them what they need in order to bring this to an end.
A very strong critic of this government, Ms. Aisha Yesufu, who was on the program on Friday when we were asking, he said she's lost hope in the manner in which the president has handled things, but you think otherwise. You think that the president is doing well. The president has said that the government will not condone further attacks, but we keep seeing these attacks. How do you defend that stance when we see this kind of attacks and you say, oh, well, it looks like the president is doing well?
Well, the attack and the president's response or our security agencies' response are two different things. When attacks happen, It's not the government that is responsible for attack. The reaction of the government is what matters. And as I said so far, the reaction of government to all these unfortunate events is commendable. And that is not to say you can get over it overnight. But the government needs to do more, especially in terms of equipping and increasing the number of personnel and giving them what they really need in order to do that. We have gallant officers. They are very intelligent, very hardworking, but you can't. They have excelled in missions outside the country, all over the world. But they do that because they have what it takes to prosecute the war or the assignment given to them. And that's why I've been saying that the army or the armed forces should be equipped. Even though most of these things are not off-the-shelf materials that you can get, yet the government should, explore other options to make sure that the Nigerian armed forces have all that they need in order to address this. This is not a war, conventional war. We are not fighting another country. We have the forces on ground, but they need what it takes, especially modern equipment, surveillance equipment, monitoring equipment, intelligence gathering. All this takes a lot of money, and they need to be given those things in order for them to perform. You can't expect somebody to perform if he doesn't have what it takes to do the assignment given to him. We call them armed forces. That means the number one priority is army, arms, ammunition, and those are lacking as far as I'm concerned. They are not sufficient enough. Two, when you say Air Force, it means that they must have air capabilities. And that translates to things like fighter jets, attack helicopters, and all that. They must have enough of that, and given the adequate training in order to manage those equipment, it's very, very important. It's unfortunate we find ourselves in this position. We have been lacking in that area, and the build-up is not easy.
All right.
It takes time. But we have to explore all options in order to make sure that the Nigerian armed forces have all that they need or what it takes in order to solve this problem. It should be placed as a major national priority.
All right.
And I'm not satisfied, I must be honest with you, with still the funding of the armed forces and our other security agencies. Their funding, their number is not enough compared to our population of over 200 million now. And when you look at our defense spending or military spending, compared to other poor countries around us, you see that we are not doing enough. We have to do more.
Okay, let's take another break, Senator. And when we return, there are some critical questions I'd like you to speak to. Negotiation or not, what approach is best to end the abductions and the banditry? We continue our conversation with Senator Ali Ndume after this time out, everyone. Join us again. Our conversation with Senator Ali Ndume is a chairman of the Senate Committee on the Army. Let me show you this map, Senator. Not an interesting thing to behold. And some of these recent school abductions from what happened in your home state of Chibok in your state, Borno, to what we saw in Dapchi in Yobe State, and up to Kankara in Katsina, and Kagara now, which is the latest one. I mean, then the Jangede situation that we saw. These are school abductions. Let me get your views on these issues of abductions. First and foremost, Senator, these bandits, from your understanding on what you know about the situation of things, are they some element of Boko Haram in another form?
Well, I can't say exactly is whether they are a form of Boko Haram or whatever, but I know that it's another kind of criminality that is going on. And it's unfortunate. It started in Chibok, and we had that in Yobe, and now it's happening almost like everywhere in the northwest. The government really need to look at it. Its investigation or intelligence should show whether it has anything to do with Boko Haram or not. But one thing for sure is that they are well armed, and then they have been carrying out these atrocities here and there and on almost on daily basis. And as the president said, and the nation is crying out, this thing must stop. And it should stop within the shortest possible time.
Would you advocate, or does it make sense for you, for any government, either state or federal, though the federal government has said they will negotiate with them, this bandit, but some people are asking for a blanket amnesty. What do you think of that?
Well, everybody holds his opinion. I don't think blanket amnesty is the solution. Because if you do that, another form of criminality may emerge, hoping that the government will bring them to a negotiation table. I think the carrot and stick approach should be used in dealing with this kind of situation. We know we have to go down to find out the roots of the causes of this banditry that were witnessed in the Northwest particularly, and the arming of headsmen and people that are involved in this. The government should, I think as a matter of emergency, form a committee of eminent people or those people that can reach out and then get to the root cause of this and also find a solution to it. I know, for example, the Fulanis, they have leadership from top to bottom, very organized leadership. So much so that even in my place, if you want to get Fulanis in one place, you can simply do that by getting one of their leaders, they normally call Ardo, to call for a meeting. We do that as politicians. In my place, I've been doing that. And they distribute cola to everybody, and within no time, they will be where you want them to be, and they talk. They have a leadership there. I think that is what the government needs to look at. They need to look at people that can go in there and talk to these people and find out, because there are criminals there, there are terrorists in there, there are armed robbers in there, but all of them now are mixing up with the Fulanis, or as you call them, or the headsmen. And the headsmen, too, some of them are carrying the arms they are carrying in order to protect themselves, the way they see it, because they don't know so much about the law. This problem started with cattle rustling and the other, lapses in our security system. So a holistic approach should be kickstarted to address this problem. And I believe that it can be done with all manner of seriousness. And we need to do it because time is not on our side, and others more are coming in, because once they discover that once you have one person or two or three with AK-47, you can go into a school and almost round up everybody, or you can just put a roadblock on the road and take away people from their buses or their travelers, and then make demands. And then the other thing is that the system must, evoke a fast justice system where justice will be dispensed. I've said several times that you see people paraded and that will be the end of it. Or if you get somebody who is involved in kidnapping and the person, the ransom paid will be like 10 million, but if the security agencies ask the apprehended people or the accused, they will end up with a very meager amount. And it seems it's a big network that must be busted by the government. And the earlier that is done, the better.
All right. Senator, my earlier questions as regarding whether or not these banditry or bandits are some kind of new face of Boko Haram is because of the attacks on Western education facilities in the country. And that's the reason why I asked, because Boko Haram will say is against Western systems. So that's the reason why I asked that question. And a lot of Nigerians wanted to understand whether or not these are the new face of Boko Haram. But you spoke about funding for the military. But a question will come when you talk about that, when you advocate for more funds. In 2018, there was an approval of about $1 billion to purchase arms. The question will be, what has become of that fund and the arms in which were purchased with those funds?
The $1 billion approved was basically for the purchase of the Tucanos that are they are in the procurement process. It takes time for it to be manufactured. I understand that the first batch of whether 6 or 7 or thereabouts will be coming in around June. So 1 billion, that translates to how much? 400 at our rate now, 400 billion. Our budget is 13 trillion, and the country is not secured. If you spend that, if you ask many Nigerians, if you ask many Nigerians whether the government should spend half of the 13 trillion in order to secure the country, I, for one, and I believe many Nigerians will say, go ahead, because without peace, you cannot do anything.
Okay.
So the issue of...
So I wanted to I wanted to get a follow-up on some of the other issues you raised. And this time around, I'd like you to comment on some of the appointment the president has made, which has received a lot of criticism. The ex-service chiefs that are being appointed as non-carrier ambassadors. The EFCC, Mr. Bawa, the EFCC chairman, and also the question as regarding the allegation of the IGP's tenure. There's been criticism about the president's decision. What's your take on that?
Well, let me take it one after the other. The appointment of ambassadors is a constitutional duty and a privilege of Mr. President. When these people were eased out as service chiefs, and the president feels that they can still be useful, and I support that because one of the problems we have in this fight against insurgency, banditry, and other forms of criminality is the loophole that we have in military diplomacy. So I'm of the view that these people can be useful in terms of running around other countries, especially because we as Nigerians don't have the capacity or self-sustaining military. We don't have the capacity to supply our military, meet the demands of our military requirements. And therefore, I believe, especially in that area of military diplomacy, the former service chiefs can be useful. That is for the service chiefs. And as for Bawa, I personally feel that this is one of the best appointments the president has made so far. I'm surprised when the people are talking about somebody that is 40 years and have put in close to 20 years service. You call him a young man. He's not a young man. Young people should be people that are below the age of 35. Or that's what, to my definition anyway. And I don't know what is the yardstick of that. So Bawa, as you can see, he presented himself well. He's well read. He has a credible, he has a very impressive CV, and he started his career in EFCC, and still they are very, intelligent individual. So I think that appointment is welcome. And but then I hope that the environment that has been beclouded by uncertainties of meddling, so much meddling in the commission's affairs previously will not be there, so that the young man will do his job without hindrances.
All right, Senator, I guess that would be a very good point for us to leave it, because we are totally out of time. But I must sincerely thank you. Anytime we invite you on the program now, it's a pleasure having your thoughts on some of these critical issues. The Senate Committee Chair on Army, Senator Ali Ndume. Thank you, Senator, for coming tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you.